It's Chrissy Guys Isabella. Welcome back to my channel. Today we're actually on part 4 of our wedding series, Save the Date Saturdays, and today we're actually going to be talking about what to spend versus splurge on your wedding. So stay tuned. Let's get right into the video. But before we do, can you please like, comment, and subscribe, and please press that notification bell so you guys get notifications whenever I post, so you don't miss any great content. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, so just before we begin, I just want to say that these are all my opinions. Take what you will and leave what you don't like, is what I would probably say, and do what's right for you guys, because this is what I personally did. I'm just going to tell you guys about what I spent on, what I splurged on, and maybe like any regrets I have or anything that I would change if I did it again, if that makes sense. So let's get into it. So my splurge category was very long. I splurged on a lot of things. I think if you watched the previous video, which I highly recommend doing right now, I would say if you watch that video, you'll know about budgeting, and I would say make sure you know based on your budget how much money you have to work with, so you know how much you can save or splurge, and or what you need to save or splurge on. And if you had done the top 3 priorities for you and your fiance, then you should know what you are able to splurge on and what you should be saving on. So that's more of a guideline, but this is just me sharing with you guys what I saved on, or what I think you should save on, and what I spent money on, and you be the judge of whether you should spend this money on the same things. Okay, so I splurged on my venues. We really wanted to get married in very nice places. We didn't want to have to like spend a lot of money on decor to make the places look better, if that makes sense. So we splurged on our venues, making sure that they were like prime location, really beautiful, up to date, had like a nice view, if that makes sense. And as we progress and I share with you the next video, you'll know what location we actually ended up picking. But yeah, so that's for next week's video. I actually spent a lot of money on my hair and makeup. I really wanted to make sure that I looked and felt beautiful. I didn't feel like it mattered if everything else looked great and I didn't look so hot, if that makes sense. So I really felt like it was important to make sure I looked my best. So obviously Rishi doesn't need hair or makeup, right? So like I got my hair and makeup done for almost every single event that we needed that for. Clothing, that was such a huge one for me. I told you guys in the previous video that like my hair and makeup and outfits were super important for both Rishi and myself, not just myself, and then also for our family members. So for our parents, like we purchased our parents outfits. Pretty sure about that actually. And then for our outfits, we like, so in our Tamil culture, like there's certain outfits you're supposed to buy the groom, and then there's certain outfits he's supposed to buy you. So he bought my kura, which is like my wedding sari, and I would like to say that I had told him like maybe I want to say like half. I told him like he can spend half of what he ended up spending. I didn't do it on purpose, okay? Just unfortunately I have expensive taste, so what I told him he could spend on, he expended like more than double. So yeah, that happened. And then for my side, you're supposed to buy him an outfit, so I ended up buying his verti sata, which is like the white outfit, if you've ever seen it, with the shawl. And I didn't spend as much as he did, but like it was an expensive outfit because of the quality of the silk that we spent money on. So obviously both outfits you keep forever and you wear to multiple occasions. Like in our culture, like the kura, you will wear that like I believe for 7 other events. Like that's the number that they say, like so the next coming wedding or like major events. I will tell you, I've already worn it once more. Wow, I've already worn it one more time, and it was for our Christmas family photo shoot. So your girl's getting wear out of that sari, okay? So don't play yourself. And so did he. He wore his verti sata again, so we can make sure that we're getting to number 7 as fast as we can, okay? And then for our other outfits, for sure, because Rishi's, without saying too much, both of our outfits were worth a pretty penny. Okay guys, photo and video, I know I talked about that in the previous video. That was one of my top threes, and I will talk about how to choose your videographer, how to choose your photographer, maybe somewhere in the future. But for myself, that was super important. I wanted to make sure I hired people who had an aesthetic and style that I really loved and appreciated. I wanted to make sure that I picked people who were professionals, who hired professionals when they had people working for them, and who would produce good quality stuff. Unfortunately, I spent a lot of money on invitations in comparison to what most people spend. So it's by no stretch of the imagination that I spent thousands. Like, there are people who do that, but I wasn't one of those people. I spent more than I was supposed to, considering how many I bought. So with most Sri Lankan people, like, there's like a limit to how much you want to spend. And like, if you go to most Sri Lankan vendors, they'll tell you like you have to buy like several hundred invitations. And now in my personal specific family, they don't believe in that. Like, they don't believe in like giving every single person an invitation. Like, we do phone calls like, hey girl, you coming? What, you know, like kind of a thing. So we don't give everybody an invitation. However, that being said, we still printed, I believe, 50 invitations, and for 50 we spent too much money. Like, my mom was cheesed. And it was because I really wanted beautiful invitations. Like, that was, to me, that sets the tone. Like, when somebody sees your invitations, that to them should tell them like what your wedding is going to be like, what to expect, how formal or informal it is. And for me, I really wanted to set the tone, and I feel like it's one of those things I want to keep in my scrapbook or in my wedding box forever, so my children can see it one day. And I really felt like, for me, it was worth investing in. Would I do it again the same way? Probably not. And it's probably one of the things I would suggest to look in very early on. And I would say that like online there are so many options, but maybe they're not very feasible. It gets expensive. So like, be mindful or conscientious of like how much you're spending on that, because it's true, most people just put it in their phones and then they toss it away, and it's a lot of money down the drain. Because why would they keep it? Would you keep theirs? Most likely not, right? So just be mindful of that. A lot of people appreciate texts, like e-invites, Facebook groups, like those kinds of things. So that's just a suggestion, and probably something I would change moving in the future if I did it again. Another thing we splurged on was food, and food because my husband is like a huge foodie, like I said. So we made sure, and so is my mother, on a complete side note. So they both were like, no, you need to feed people well. Like, my mom kept saying like, Tamil people, right? Like, if you feed people well, their stomachs will be full and their hearts will be full, and they will bless you as they leave and not curse you and be like, these people don't feed you properly, blah blah blah. So for her, even at the ceremony, she was like, we need to feed these people. So even though our venues had strict policies about outside food, we were able to work something out. And with my reception venue, we just made sure that we picked stations and like extras to make sure that that the people who were coming to our wedding were satisfied, they had a great time, that the food selection was awesome. So that's how we splurged on our food. And I would say, because a wedding is an experience, for a lot of people who are coming, it's the food and the music that makes the difference. So I would say I don't have a problem splurging on food, but I will say that with a lot of venues, that kind of thing is already built into your costs. So just be mindful of what you're choosing and make sure they're not charging you extra, you know. And speaking of music, that was another thing we wanted to splurge on. We had live entertainment and we had a DJ. So for me, it was important to have a competent DJ, and then it was important for us to have live music. And I think the live music, I will be honest with you, I think it's very cool. Like, I think it's low-key cooler, only because I feel like they're doing their own thing, and then you see people, like for me anyway, because we had two cultures blending, to have a Tassa band at a Sri Lankan Trini wedding was fantastic. I feel like they were like, oh my god, what is that? Like, nobody had seen that, nobody had heard that. And for me, it was so cool to be able to have that being a part of our experience. The cake, listen, I don't really know if I like cake, like eating cake, but for me, I love looking at cakes, and I've dreamt about cutting the cake. Like, I was that little girl like, oh, do I have the stairs up on the tiers? Like, oh, what is my little me and the groom, like the little thingies are gonna look like. Like, I was super into that kind of stuff. So when it came time to picking up my wedding cake, I splurged. Like, I think my sister spent half and was telling me like, girl, you're spending too much money on cake, of all things. But I will say I don't regret it, only because I absolutely love my cake, and I think my cake tasted amazing. So I think as long as you're going to somebody who's competent and they're not going to screw something up, and they're not charging you an arm and a leg, like, I wouldn't go into the thousands. Like, don't go crazy now, okay? But be like reasonable with what you're asking for. And I think in my case, because I had inquired about this specific cake with this specific vendor like a year in advance, I was able to lock in a lower price than like what 2019 she was charging, which was like maybe $300 or $400 more. I know. Okay, so the MC, I will tell you, that was a splurge, and I'm so happy about that, because we had a fantastic MC. It was totally worth every penny, and I for sure feel like he made the event come together. Like, to be honest with you, like, I obviously wasn't there the whole reception. Like, you have to go up and change, you're seeing people, like, there's just a lot going on. But I heard, and then based on my video, like, I could tell he really had it under control and like made it an amazing vibe. So I highly recommend having somebody who is not weird, like not awkward, is funny, is cool, like will get it going, you know, kind of a thing. So I splurged on my MC. Jewelry. So there's no point if you're going to spend money on your outfits and not spend money on your jewelry, if you ask me, okay? Like, you have to look good head to toe. That's my opinion, okay? So I splurged on jewelry, not by a lot, to be honest with you. Like, I thank God for my sister, because she is my splurge angel. Like, she makes sure that I do well, like I don't spend too much money. But I wanted to make sure that like the pieces we got were beautiful. Wanted to make sure, like, I'm the type of person, like, I will spend the extra money to make sure I'm happy with it. And I will say, like, for me, I'm so glad I listened to my gut throughout the entire process, because you have to love every single thing. In my opinion, you have to love every single thing in your wedding, because those are the things you're looking back on. So you have to be worth, like, oh, I wish, like, you shouldn't have to say like, oh, I wish I did what I wanted to do, I wish I wasn't listening to so and so, I wish I didn't do this. Like, you hear too many brides doing that, and it's not worth it, you know, like, because that's what you're really gonna remember for the rest of your life. So, right now, saving, yes, people, I know after all of this you're gonna ask me, did you actually even save any money? I did. Okay, not by a lot, but I did. I think one of the things that we saved on was our reception decor, and it was actually a blessing from God with that, because we just hired our venue, like our reception venue, to do the decor, and they had only started maybe doing decor maybe, I want to say 5 months in advance, like before our wedding. And I was very specific about like what I wanted, but to be honest with you, whatever I envisioned in here was exactly what I got outside here. So thankful that it was worth going with our reception venue. I will tell you that, like, there's 155,000 different decor companies in Toronto, like, and half of those are Sri Lankan, I feel like. So, you know, there are definitely a lot of different options to go with, but in my opinion, like, going with our venue as our vendor in this situation was the best choice we could have ever made, because not only did I get what I wanted, but I made sure I didn't spend more than I needed to. Rentals, for car rentals and stuff like that, we did like one-way trips, like for our limos. Like, we decided to be more efficient, economical with our rentals, because my sister was saying, like, back in the day, like when our uncles and parents were getting married, they would record, like they would video record, take pictures of the vehicles you came in, and a lot of people today don't do that. Like, unless you're getting a luxury car, an exotic car, and you're putting it in, like pulling it into the reception venue, like a lot of people are not checking out the whip coming in. And like, I'm not really a car person, so like I didn't really care enough because we had other priorities financially. So that was something that we sort of saved on. Also, rentals for like chairs, napkins, utensils, glassware, all of that came with our reception hall, and we stuck with that. And then the same with our ceremony hall, came with the most beautiful chairs. and linens, so we didn't have to feel like renting from the outside. And so I will say, be conscientious and aware of like where you're booking your venues, so you don't feel like you have to pay extra to go spend more money on getting nicer things because you already spent the money up front, if that makes sense. Another thing that we saved money on was our hotel. Like, we already knew we weren't going to be done the reception until like 2 in the morning, and we didn't really feel like spending a lot of money on a hotel room to like do what, like to sleep for a little bit, to check out early. Like, no, I'm good, thanks. Like, we already knew we were gonna sleep late, wake up late. We didn't want the hassle of like spending hundreds of dollars to stay one night and then not even be rested, like, if that made sense. So the novelty of that was like whatever, because within a few days we ended up going on our honeymoon, so we saved on that. I will say one of the things we saved on, not intentionally, but thank God that we did, was on our papers. Like, we saved money on our pamphlets, like for our programs for the day of the ceremony. We saved on signage, like, you know, the glass sign that says welcome to the wedding of Rishi and Krithika, like, and I only saved money on that because I have an amazing friend who actually works in that kind of industry or field, and so he actually just said, hey, you know what, like, these are my wedding gifts to you, and I really appreciated that, because like that was just one last thing that I had to concern myself with. And to be honest with you, that sign I'm going to keep in my house forever, so I'm super excited about that. And the last thing I saved on is my photo booth, actually. And because my brother and my brother-in-law started their business called Imagination Booth, so obviously they blessed me because that's my brother and my brother-in-law. But I would definitely check them out because I ended up with an amazing, beautiful album of photo booth pictures, and they were so cute. The exact background I wanted, everything was exactly the way I wanted it. So I just wanted to shout them out because I would definitely check them out if you are in a photo booth need. They're actually pretty awesome, and they're very reasonably priced. So yeah, check them out. The last thing I will say is with the flowers anyway. My flowers, I made sure I was conscientious about how I spent and how I saved. So I spent money on like the wearable flowers, like my flowers for my hair, my bouquet, my bridesmaids bouquets, like the boutonnieres, etc., and the arrangements at my ceremony. But I made sure I wasn't spending money on like centerpieces for the reception, just because it was an evening reception. And a lot of people kept telling me like, nobody pays attention to that, save your money, save your money. So that's actually where we saved our money. But I will tell you one thing. If you, in my case, I couldn't do this because I got married one day and then I had my ceremony, my reception another day. But in some people's cases, you have it the same day. What I've heard is you can actually have somebody move, the floral company will move your ceremony pieces to your reception, so you can have it there as well. And in this case, I would just say make pieces or use pieces that are transferable. Like, you can use at your reception, you can use at your ceremony, and that way you can save money on flowers. And I know another tip that people say is if you want a lot of flowers, mix and match with the real and the fake, because you're gonna be saving some. So that's my tips to you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video about what to save on, what to splurge on. I hope I made you laugh a little bit too. And let me know in the comments below what you guys saved money on and what you splurged money on for your wedding, or what you think you will. And I'd love to read your thoughts. And thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you guys' love and support, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye bye.